Is there some mysterious disease or illness killing Avicularia tarantulas? Hey guys, Mike with KC Tarantulas here. This week I wanted to do something a little bit different, and I wanted to talk to you guys about something that I see pop up on forums and websites and videos quite often. That is someone posting, asking questions that are all kind of similar to other questions, like, hey guys, I have an Avicularia that I have had for a couple weeks now and it has suddenly died. Or I have a Carabiner versicolor that recently just all of a sudden passed away and I'm not sure why. Usually in these threads or these videos or in the comments, somebody then posts, well, it seems that you have fallen victim to S.A.D.S. S.A.D.S. And that stands for Sudden Avic Death Syndrome. There is a lot of people out there that believe that there is something that just kills Avicularia and former Avicularia species. I personally do not believe this. I think that there is a lot of factors that go into this belief, and I think that when you consider them all, you'll come to find out that it's probably not some mysterious illness or disease. The first thing you should know about Avicularia species and former members thereof is that they have a very narrow scope of requirements for their care. They are very susceptible to humid, stagnant air. So when you set up their enclosures, you definitely want to make sure that you have cross ventilation, or air that moves from one side of the enclosure to the other, and also from the bottom to the top. Because in nature, while these guys are found in rainforests, they are not found on the rainforest floor where the air is stagnant and muggy. They're actually up in the trees where usually the air moves and it's not quite as humid. So it took a while for people to figure this out, that they needed to set their enclosures up without it being super humid. And if you look at a lot of care sheets, which you shouldn't really do, but if you do, you'll see that a lot of care sheets on the internet and a lot of pet stores, care sheets and things like that say that you should be misting the enclosure of these species, or you should be making sure that the substrate is moist, and these things aren't true. You shouldn't be misting the enclosure, to try to raise your humidity. You shouldn't actually have the substrate for these species really moist. I keep both of mine on dry substrate with a large water dish, and that's pretty much it. If you mist and keep the air stagnant, these species are going to perish. And that is even more so if they are slings or babies. They're even more susceptible. So a lot of the people that you see, well, that I personally see on these forums or on these websites, are usually talking about their Avicularia or former member thereof dying as a sling before it even gets to a juvenile stage. Now, that can happen with any species of tarantula. There is an evolutionary reason why tarantulas have so many babies, because a lot of them are not going to make it to adulthood, whether it be from predators, whether it be from the elements, or whether it just be from their vitality, not being healthy or having something wrong. So I think that when you think about those two things, which would be misinformation when it comes to taking care of them, and the fact that slings can die whether they're of any species. And then if you combine it with the third thing that I'd like to bring up, is that Avicularias are one of the most popular tarantulas in the trade. Most pet shops that I go to usually carry one or two tarantulas, and most of the time one of them is an Avicularia avicularia. So if you have lots of them being sold, and lots of them being sold with misinformation, a lot of misinformation on the internet and in care sheets, and a lot of them are dying, I think that all adds up to people thinking that maybe there is something else that is killing your tarantulas, when in fact I think it's just a mix of bad husbandry, normal sling death, and just how many are being sold and how many are being taken home. When you combine these things together, maybe you'll come to the same conclusion as me, maybe not. Let me know down in the comments. But what I also would like to do is show you guys my setups for my Aviculara Metallica Orion and my Carabina Versicolor Pixel, Pixel used to be a member of the Aviculara genus, but is now its own after the revision. But the care has stayed the same. So I'd like to show you my setups, and I'd also like to show you some of the smaller setups that I had them in previously, to kind of give you guys an idea of how I take care of mine, and maybe how you should take care of yours, and then you won't suffer from this, in my belief, this false syndrome. So let's move to the table, and I'll show you guys the enclosures that I have for mine. Alright, so here are the current Aviculara and former Aviculara that I have. The one on the right there is Orion, that is my Aviculara Metallica, and the one on the left is my Carabina Versicolor named Pixel. They're both set up very similar in their current enclosures. I have tons and tons of ventilation on the sides, so make sure that they get that cross ventilation that they need. And then also, with the way that these are made in the front, they do have a gap in between the opening of the lip here, and we do have some ventilation holes on top, which allows air to move from the bottom out the top. I keep water dish in both of them. They will come down and get water out of those dishes. If you ever, the only time that I would say that misting is appropriate is if you want to mist a little bit up in the web to give them something to drink, but not a lot, like you're trying to increase the humidity, because that will only help make the air more stagnant. But like I said, if you want to spray some up in the web to give them a drink, you can. It's just not something that I'd recommend really doing that often. Now in front here I have two smaller, commonly used sling enclosures. When people get really small slings, they sometimes get them sent to them in these small pill containers with holes poked on top, and they will keep them in there. And that is probably not going to work very well because there's no ventilation on the sides here that allows the air towards the bottom to escape once they make their web to the top. Plus, I mean, opening and closing this, you're going to probably destroy their web each time. They, like I said, they can work if you drill some holes, but I mean, I really don't recommend them. These are commonly sold by some vendors. I think Jamie's Tarantulas sells this one with the metal gate in the front. You can also buy these boxes at the Container Store without that metal thing in the front. And these work okay, but you will want to provide some extra ventilation, because just this front is not going to provide enough. And I don't use this anymore, but if I was going to use this now, I would also drill some holes on the back to just move air through. And since you won't be putting a lot of substrate in these because of it being an arboreal species, I would put some holes that are closer towards the bottom to bring air up and out as well. But yeah, I really have had good luck setting up my enclosures this way. I've had no problems. You just always want to make sure that you provide vertical space, cross ventilation, provide a water dish. Some people like to hot glue a water dish up towards the top. That's fine, but like I said, I have seen them come down to get water multiple times. But yeah, that's how I set mine up. You can set yours up the same, or you can expand on this. There are pre-made enclosures for arboreals. I know that Inspect Laser, who made my custom one for my Balfouri, they make one that looks like it has sufficient ventilation. I know that there's the Exoterra and Zoomed tall enclosures. They have ventilation on the very front bottom, and then they have ventilation on the top. They really don't have a lot of cross ventilation, but they work well enough with that ventilation in the front, so those could also be used. But yeah, that is how I set up my enclosures. Alright, so there you have it. That is how I do my setups, and that is my beliefs on S.A.D.S. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, or if you just want to say hello. This is my Casey Tarantula shirt. This is the baseball tee version of it. Links down below if you guys would like one of these. I do have a reptile show video coming up, which is going to be later on this month. Probably going to do a feeding video again soon for you guys. And I also am going to be doing a collaboration with somebody else on YouTube, but more details on that to come later. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you have a good week.